remember the story of the armed robber that was condemned to death. And everybody was waiting. They said, do you have anything? He said, I have one thing to say. He said, call my parents. They called them. He beat off the mother's ear. I'm sorry, complaining. Why didn't you train? Why didn't you warn me when I was doing all these things? You see, that's crucial. You must warn. You must care.
Sorry, before we go in, please. Why should you beat off the mother's ear? All this societal to me, this societal that they think that it's only the mother that has issues.
No, that's the person that came closer. You know, the father knew better than this one. I'm going to make a good job. But mother still has motherly love that maybe you want to say something really important.
Yes.
You know, and beat up the mother in that process.
Welcome to today's conversation. It's Relationship Clinic powered by Keepingmarriagealive Initiative. My name is Angie and that's my husband.
And I'm Rich. You're welcome.
Today's conversation, you can see that we've already begun. It's about 5 questions every good parent should answer. And let me repeat again, 5 questions every good parent should what? Answer.
Not 5 questions every good parent should ask, but it should answer. So they put the parents in the spotlight.
Yes.
And what is parenting before we move further?
That's the first question actually. Yes. And we'll share what we think parenting is and we expect you in the comment sections just to share yours.
Yes.
These 5 questions is an interactive session to help parents because most marriage issues we have should have been dealt with when they were young. Parenting failure has caused most damage in marriage as adults for us, and we decided to address this from our own perspective.
Yes.
And so before we begin with what is parenting, I want to remind you to subscribe. And I can't be watching this good thing and you will not subscribe. Share with your friends. Share. And maybe our social media handles. Don't forget to follow us on other social media handles. And that's Keeping Marriage Alive for Facebook and Instagram. We also have Twitters. And that's Alive KMA. It's always a privilege to hear from you and interact. Let's enrich our marriages. Let's make the society a better place.
Yes.
Well, thank you.
So what is parenting? Parenting is the act of taking care of the social, emotional, intellectual and physical well-being of an individual from infancy to adulthood. Put in quotes, it means taking care of the individual for life. It never stops. It never stops, really. When they have children, you take care of their grandchildren. When they, so it goes on and on.
I agree in that concept. But remember that when you say what is parenting and you talk about the social, some of us are so used to have paid their school fees. That's part of it. Have you dealt with their emotional growth? Yeah. Have you dealt with their social growth?
Do you know their friends? Do you know how they interact? Do you know
their what? What their likes, their dislikes, the issues they have, and I need us to begin to ask ourselves, because parenting, if you have not defined parenting for yourself, you will usually abuse parenting as a rule. And one other thing we need to include is that parenting is also a spiritual thing. Have you prayed through concerning your child so that you are able to ascertain the kind of social tools you need to use, emotional applications or systems?
So you can actually guide them appropriately too.
Oh yes. Till date, we are still answering the question of what parenting is as our children grow in their different milestones.
Yes.
From
one phase to another.
Yes. So I want to welcome you again to a second one. What do you think the question should be? Second question is, what is God saying to you about this child both of you share? Now, parenting is not a mother's thing. Parenting is both mother and father. So we are asking, what are you saying about your parenting? So parents, what is God saying? Maybe can you remember our story, how we learned about our children? I think we shared it before, where we had, by that time we were not friends, and we were thinking of how to make our son, we were worried about our first son. I remember us having a conversation. That was our first vision retreat. That was 9 years or 10 years ago. And we sat down, and the first point in our conversation was our son. We both had fears. But because we have never been friends, we never discussed it. So it was our first time discussing it. Do you remember?
He was so reserved, he was so isolated, so quiet, so reserved. When his friends come around, we go into the house, we want to talk to them.
In short, I remember one that he put a cotton board, so that you wouldn't hear what people are saying. We literally had to go use some of the instruments.
Bring out the cotton board. So, and we know he's not autistic. So we are so bothered that what's happening to this young man? We put it out before God. He gave us some scriptures and some strategies on how to go about it. And lo and behold, the next time in his school, the teacher called that, what's happening to your son? He now asks so much questions. He's so bold,
so outspoken, and we're so
what's really
blessed.
happened?
Well, that brings us to what parenting is all about. Parenting is not about one parent. It's a co-parenting conversation. And God expects you that when you have this child, both of you should come and seek His face on what He expects from your child. Remember Rachel, Rebecca in the Bible, they all asked questions. Rebecca was praying and God said, you have twins in your womb. So there was a preparation. Jochebed, the mother of Moses, God told her in that womb, she knew that this child was different. So she made decisions with that in mind. Can you see as parents that you have an inkling of the kind of child you have brought to the earth? You know?
Just like Samson too, he said his hair, nothing will touch his hair,
yes.
not take alcohol.
And told the mother not to take any alcohol
and all that. So that will guide you, and you will now guide the children appropriately.
So parents, when last did you meet the maker of your children and pray through to actually know the kind of child you brought onto the earth and what role is required for both of you to play? Even Mary knew she was carrying Jesus. Joseph knew that this child was going to be a savior, and he took decisions from that perspective. We can no longer take decisions for our children. You know, there's this phrase, I've given birth to a lawyer. Who say? Hey, he's going to be a doctor.
And God said, that's my sportsman.
And that's the common president. Our daughter actually told me, I don't think I want to be president of Nigeria. It's difficult. Like these children, you don't know what they have inside of them.
Yeah.
And it's very important we say that to you. And when you ask those questions, that brings us to the third question. What are you willing to sacrifice for them to become? Many of us don't, I remember Mrs. Audrey Ezigbo, she shared something fantastic when we went for a double impact some years ago. She talked about a girl that kept failing in school, to her parents relocated specifically for her, and she came out with first class engineering in America. What are you willing to sacrifice, knowing the potential of your child? What are you willing to step back from?
That's really the responsibility.
And
seeing it through.
Yes.
You know? That's good.
So one of the things you need to know as a parent is, first of all, after asking God and finding out, you now have to say, okay, what is our sacrifice? I was so used to play for Junior Baka, and there was a time Testing Balogun was not open. We live in Festac. We would drive all the way to Lekki for him to perform, to play football, because we knew that a part of his journey required him investing in his football career. What are you willing to sacrifice? Stop saying, you know, I'm running around paying their school fees. That's minimal. If you stop there, you have actually failed your child. So what sacrifice am I willing to make as husband and as wife? And even as siblings? Because I remember that Jochebed was able to do so much as a sibling. What are you willing to sacrifice? And you, to that answer, you need to answer and converse as a family. The fourth question we are asking is, when is the appropriate time for you to step back as a parent?
To release them. Adolescent age, you release them. You have conversations with them. You don't just choose for them. Allow them make decisions.
That is controlled release.
Yes.
And when your children were smaller, you could make decisions for them.
You can say, sit here, don't go here. Mommy, why can't I go here?
Exactly.
Conversation starts, questioning starts. I have to listen and hear them out.
Thank you. Yes, so powered by Keepingmarriagealive initiative. It's your girl Angie and my daughter. Okay, we're here as usual. I hope you've been with us at the beginning. Always go back, look at it, all our conversations. It's there for you. Don't forget our social media handles: Instagram, Facebook, Keepingmarriagealive, Twitter is Alive KME. And of course, subscribe. This is Keepingmarriagealive initiative, YouTube or YouTube channel. So the fourth question is, when is the appropriate time for us to step back? And we're talking about
release.
Yes, release.
Controlled release.
When our children are younger, we are the authority in their life. When they become teenagers, they begin to find themselves. We need to learn to release. But there is also a particular time when we need to truly release them.
Release them and let them go.
I remember, let me just share this story. I think few weeks ago, I shared the story of when she was in secondary school, and the guy came to her house. The same daughter came for vacation from university, and she said, "Mom, a friend wants to come to see and guy." And I said, "No problem." They have seen the face of her brother. They were up in everybody's mouth. Like, I said, "No problem, darling. No, I'm set." I said, "And what's the take?" She said, "Once I want to go over." And I said, "Yeah, I'll talk to your dad. That's not the problem." She said, "Mom, didn't you hear what I said?" I said, "I heard you. We will just discuss with dad and it's fine." So the guy comes to the house. I saw him, had a conversation, and they went on the movie together. And all I told her was share his contact on our WhatsApp. So we are sure of who you are. And they went and they came back. And the boys were wondering because the time had come for us what to leave. So a few years ago, we had control belief. Now we are releasing age appropriate. I don't know how to put it. So what do you have to say about
it? It's important. These days now, at that age, we have to have conversation. Try to win her over with what you say, no longer by. We discuss it, bring the time point, that we do what we agree.
Actually, by this time is what you have imputed in them that is. If you've not put anything, of course, not expect any feedback.
And they have confidence that when you release them and consult, they feel happy and excited about it. And they will now confide in than hiding and speaking.
I was just laughing. She was funny, Mom. We've gotten to the cinema and all, and she came back, and I was fine. Yeah. And the question we have to ask ourselves: are we still holding on? Are you aware of the control disease in your system? And if your child is in university and become an adult, have you left appropriate ways to release them? Because these things we must discuss as parents.
We must guide them to make themselves carry you along now.
So please now have some sense of one. Because if your child is doing something and is still under your tutelage, you have actually
you're robbing them.
Robbing them of their adulthood and their ability to make decisions for themselves. So welcome again. The fifth and final one is the parenting end without.
No, we can't. Like inside that lie, to make it a better place. Correction, counseling, guidance.
Very important. And we always tell people that when you're talking about, say, I've trained my children, they haven't married someone.
And you're going to work with them. They're going to live inside with every other person.
So our greatest need is, while we're training our children, answering this question, what is parenting, what is God saying, what is time, and what I need to sacrifice. Remember that when you grow, take this into the life of those around, because it's not only bettering the child, but influence those people. Because one of them I think of people very key.
At that point.
So I want to thank everyone for listening. Hope you've gleaned something. Remember, today's topic was 5 questions every good parent answer. Should answer, and I hope you
go and answer those questions. Go back.
Discuss together. It's a true parenting. Thank you all. Thank you for joining. And remember, Family Life Bootcamp is next week. Are you ready? We are counting the days now. Resort. Here we
are.
Yes. Conversations, couples, discussion, and a lot of things. Don't miss it. 15th April to 18th of April. Yeah. So see you there. Thank you. Bye.